Hello and welcome to my channel To Plan For. Today I want to share with you the insights I gained from my Hobonichi Weeks experiment. Let me first start give you a little background why I even did this experiment and what was where I started from. So I have been a one notebook person for many years. I put everything in one notebook, meaning my thoughts, memory, brain dump, to-do lists, budgets, tracking, habit tracking, well, everything. And as a consequence, I filled up several notebooks each year. And in the end, each year I have a stack of notebooks, and somewhere in those filled up notebooks, there are some memories buried which I might want to revisit. And that's simply not doable to find things again. So that was the starting point. And that brought me to the idea it might be a good idea to compartmentalize my notebook setup. So it would be easier for me to say, okay, here are the things I want to keep, I might want to revisit, and that's just brain dump, thinking on paper, whatever is on my mind at this moment, but I don't plan on keeping that stuff. And with this idea of splitting up my different writing sections, I thought it might be a good idea to have like 3 different sections. A Hobonichi Weeks, a TN insert, weekly and memo, that's what it's called, and like one insert for all the other writing stuff I do, which is only interesting in this very moment for myself. Basically thinking on paper, but nothing that I would like to keep. And with this splitting up in these 3 different areas, I have been playing around for the past 7 weeks and just try to see what makes the most sense for me, what feels good. And I think now I found a good setup for me and what I would like to start out with in 2026. So what are the 3 main things, or what are the main areas of writing I do every day? So the biggest section for me is this, I call it thinking on paper. And that's what I have been using this notebook for this insert. It's just, I write whatever is on my mind. Sometimes it's only paragraphs, sometimes 2-3 pages. On average, I write 2 pages a day. I mean, today is the 16th. I started this insert on the 1st of November, and you see I'm exactly at the middle of this insert. So about 2 pages a day. And that's a notebook I'm not planning on keeping. It's just everyday stuff I need for my mental health. And I looked up what is actually mental health. And it says, like, the definition is mental health is a state of mental well-being that enables people to cope with the stress of life, realize their abilities, learn and work well, and contribute to their community. So I think it's a good term for this journal. deal with the stress of life and realize my abilities, what's on my mind, what's bothering me, what I learned from different things that happened in my life, what I want to change about myself, my behavior, what's what currently occupies my mind, all that stuff. So I guess it's fair to call this like a mental health insert. And actually, that's the only thing I really feel like doing every single day. For me, this has become a habit. Sometimes, as I said, it's only very little I write, but this year I wrote every single day, at least a few lines. And yeah, I definitely want to keep this up. So thinking on paper, that was the easiest part, because for that I just want blank or dot grid or graph, whatever, a simple insert, obviously undated. Everything is fine, not lined, because I like to play around a little bit with how I structure my writing. Then what I also want to try is memory keeping. I have never been a person who looks much back or dwells in memories. And I want to give it a try to create for myself this setup where I can revisit certain parts of parts of my life. And what I figured out throughout the last few weeks is this only really works for me if I don't only if I only write, it's just a whole bunch of text and there is no motivation for me to come back. But if I switch it up with some visual elements, those pictures or drawings, they trigger my memory, and then it's more likely for me to come back. So if I do this memory keeping, if I really invest the time, then I should do it in a way that it makes sense for my future self. So I think those 2 pages are good examples. Just by looking at this page, you know, okay, this, I was at the opera and saw I don't think ballet is the correct term, modern dance, let's say that, modern dance. Then I got the sink in my kitchen repaired, and I received some ink samples, and then I can say, okay, do I really want to read more about what went on this week, or but only looking, or already by looking at those little ephemeras, I remember a few things about this week. Or, for example, here, I bought a beanie. It got cold, and also I received some stickers I had purchased on Etsy, and those are the stamps on the envelope. And I went to this Korean restaurant around the corner. So if I do memory keeping, I need to have visual elements, or I will never come back. And that's why I think it makes sense to do this part in a TN weekly and memoir insert, because the printed out photos or ephemera will bulk it up a little bit. And I think with this kind of insert, it makes it it doesn't really bother me, and it's definitely better suited for sticking a lot of stuff in than my Hobonichi Weeks. Okay, so I have this thinking on paper insert, then the attempt of memory keeping, and as I said, I was a notebook person for a very long time, and it was maybe a little bit like a bullet journal as well. And in here, in my Hobonichi Weeks, I think I want to replace this kind of bullet journal setup a little bit. And it's just like, okay, I have already this pre-made structure of weekly, monthly setup, and also the pages in the back where I can create my own setups. And what I want to do in the Hobonichi Weeks is, have my collections, budget tracking, meal planning, plan my learning journey. That's actually the biggest part where planning makes sense, but I'll get back to that in a minute. Then track progress in different things, habit tracking, and to-dos. So let me show you. This here is a very good example of how many things I need to plan for a week. So to make it short, I don't need a planner for my everyday tasks. My personal life is so simple that it's not necessary for me. I don't need to write down when I have to take out the trash, or I don't know, just those little things, everyday tasks. I don't need to write them down. Actually, I don't want to write them down. It feels a little bit like self-created bureaucracy to me. For example, I don't even need to write down when I have my piano lesson, because, I mean, it has been Friday for 2 years now. It's like saying I need a planner to remember that I need to go back to work on Monday. No, I don't. I know. What I have written here are some administrative tasks. Even that I don't need to write down. I just wrote it here because it's for the joy of checking it off. I mean, if something is really annoying, if I don't like to do it, it's just this little gratification of, yeah, I have done it, and yeah, it's not a problem anymore. Then, well, meal planning was such a normal thing for me to do, because that's just the way I grew up. My mother always meal planned. I mean, she looked up what she wanted to cook, wrote a shopping list, and then we went to the grocery store, and so I always assumed, for me, that's the way you do it, and that's how I started into my adult life. You think about what you want to cook, you write a list, you buy the stuff, and so I don't need a planner for that. I mean, many years I just used a piece of paper somewhere that was had in the kitchen, maybe with the page number of the recipe, when I wanted to cook a recipe from a book. But it was just the thing you do, because how would you otherwise know what to buy? And sometimes it's strange when you realize things that are very normal for you that other people do quite differently. So yeah, meal planning has been a part of my life, I don't know, since I have been responsible for cooking my own meals, like, more over 20 years now. So yeah, I am always learning something. I'm a solution architect. I work in IT, and it's a profession where constant learning must be part of your nature. I mean, you must love to learn, otherwise it could get a little bit stressful because technology changes so fast. The minute you think you have kind of understood, I don't want to use the word mastered, some kind of technology, it's already outdated. So yeah, and that's fine for me. I'm always want to learn something new, so I have always something I'm learning. A big part of my constant learning journey is related to professional topics, but I also have some other things I want to learn that are more hobby learning. I don't know. For example, next year I plan to go to Korea, and I'm currently studying the alphabet. And then once I have mastered the alphabet, I want to learn I mean, not Korean. I have learned 2 foreign languages, English and French. And I know how much time it takes to learn a language, but at least a few phrases, so that when I'm in Korea, at least I can have a few polite phrases like greeting, thanking people, or stuff like that. I think that's always nice when you go to another country, that you have at least a few phrases to show the people that you made an effort. Well, I got sidetracked. Anyway, what I wanted to say is I don't really need a planner for my everyday life. The biggest part of planning for me is really my study plan, and especially for that, it's not so important to study things at a specific time. It's all things I'm studying and learning because I want to. I'm not in school or university anymore, where you have, okay, exam time is coming up, I need to I've read this book by a certain date, or finish this, I don't know, exercise. So it's more for myself to keep track that I'm doing something, to have a guideline, what I want to do, what I want to do next. But if I have written down 3 chapters I want to read in a week, and then it turns out I didn't read a single one because just life happened, it's not a drama. I mean, then just continue next week. Why I'm saying all this is because I think I will be using my Hobonichi Weeks quite a bit differently than I see many people using it, because I think it will have very little of my everyday tasks, and more a focus on my learning, self-improvement, whatever you want to call it. So that definitely makes sense. And with this 3 inserts, like, well, it's not really an insert, but with my traveler's notebook, weekly and memo, with some writing insert, my Hobonichi Weeks, like this. I can put everything in my Logby Voyager, and it's not even that bulky. And I have in one notebook, no, not notebook, in one journal or journal cover, everything I would like to take with me for my everyday writing. So that's cool. I like that. I like that about that setup. Also, just because I think this thinking on paper, that's something I do every day. Memory keeping, I don't know if I will do this really every day, but I think at least a few times a week. I'm not so sure if I have some memories I want to record every single day, but yeah, it's definitely something I would pick up a few times a week. And then Hobonichi Weeks, I guess that's something I would open at least daily. I don't know if I would write something in it every day, but still as a constant life companion. I mean, if I do there, I don't know, my budget tracking, well, then whenever I buy something, I would put it in there. Meal planning is something that happens more on the weekend. Also, planning my learning journey for the next week is usually something I do on the weekend. Well, whatever kind of collections I have. So, well, for example, one collection is if I order something online, just to know, okay, I ordered it, I have to check it off once I've received the package, things like that. So I think it might be something I would use almost every day. We'll see. Other journals in my life. So what I definitely want to keep doing is having a travel journal. I shared my current travel journal a couple times on the channel. That's something really, really nice, and I always enjoy to flip through it, relive a little bit the vacation memories. So that's something I will also use next year, but it's not something I need to have in my daily setup. Like, this would be, well, not something I carry with me all the time, but that would definitely take it with me when I travel somewhere. Something I use every day, definitely. I do have a few special interest notebooks. And I don't think it's really right to include them in my notebook lineup. But still, they're part of my life. For example, I keep a reading journal. My reading journal is like a reading companion for me, like a book club on paper. If I read something and I want to just have a conversation with myself about what I read, or some quote that stuck with me, I want to write it down here. And every book I finish, I usually write at least one page about it. So it's just nice when you have something you can come back to, or it gives me joy. Then I have a little music notebook, piano notebook, whatever. It's only like this very little. I don't think it's even an A6. I think it's smaller than that. With notes on the pieces I'm currently trying to learn, a little bit music theory. It always lies on top of my piano, and yeah, I use it whenever there's the need to write something down or look up. What I have done is I started a Korea notebook. I already mentioned my next big vacation will be a trip to Korea. And I think for me, especially if I plan a big trip, maybe a once in a lifetime trip, it gives the whole experience becomes more valuable for myself if I prepare. Preparing means read a little bit about the history of the country, the geography, food, Oh, definitely a big part is literature. It's always nice to read books that have been written by authors from that country. So yeah, I have this Korea journal where I currently just write down whatever I learn about Korea, and it's also first of all a learning, but also it's kind of the I don't know how to say this really in English. It's Vorfreude, the joy before, I actually go there. And yeah, travel journal I already mentioned. Then I have art notebooks like watercolor notebook, one for drawing. I have my ink swatch book or books, multiple by now. Of course, I want to keep them. I mean, that's playing around with my inks makes me happy, and I like to look at them, the different colors. Happy with it. Language learning. Yeah, I'm still trying to improve my French, even though I moved to France now 5 years ago, but there is still room for improvement, definitely. And yeah, other study notes. So yes, I have, or also in the past when I said I'm a one notebook person, true, but I still had these other notebooks on the side, but they're different for me. It's like, well, what I haven't even mentioned here, I have a recipe notebook. I think I have bought this notebook, I don't want to say 20 years ago, but I think at least 15 years ago. And every year I put in maybe 3, 4, 5 recipes in there. I don't think it will live long enough to ever fill it up. But still, yeah, I like it. I have it in my in the kitchen with all my other recipe books, and so would I include my recipe notebook in my lineup of my notebooks? No, I don't pick it up often enough for that. So if I say, what is my notebook lineup for next year? That's it. Maybe I would include my reading journal, because that's something I usually pick up at least once a week. But all the other things I don't consider part of my notebook lineup. Yeah, and that was pretty much what I realized about myself, about how I use my journals, notebooks, and how I want to use them in the future. Yeah, it was a lot of rambling. I hope you enjoyed this little walkthrough through my Hobonichi Weeks experiment. And yeah, hope to see you soon for my future videos. Bye.